Don't forget, you can reach the latest episode of Potomac Watch anytime. Just ask your smart speaker, play the Opinion Potomac Watch podcast.
From the opinion pages of the Wall Street Journal, this is Potomac Watch.
Welcome back. Soon, though, it'll be a new day in Washington. The Republican Congress has already been sworn in. Donald Trump will be entering office here shortly. How much do you think that these Republican majorities, Alicia, will have appetite and interest and success in rolling back some of those subsidies at the federal level? Notable, Biden this week gave an exit interview to USA Today. He was asked what his greatest fear was about what President Trump would do when in office. And the first thing Biden said was, on the economy, my single greatest fear is that he will try to and maybe even succeed in eliminating the elements of the climate law. Alicia, I believe he's referring there to the Inflation Reduction Act that passed under his tenure. Interesting that he is not referring to it as the Inflation Reduction Act, but calling it the climate law. But do you suppose that the GOP will get something done here, as President Biden fears, in changing and repealing large elements of that?
So I think that it's actually going to be very politically difficult, especially with the narrow majorities in the House. If you go back, the wind production credit tax credit was initially implemented in 1992. The solar investment tax credit actually goes back to the 1970s. And traditionally, Republicans have linked arms with the Democrats in extending them every time they've come close to lapsing. They did that under Trump, both 2018 and 2020. And that's partly because a lot of, especially the wind projects, are in Republican states like Kansas and Iowa. And I saw somewhere about 2/3 of the wind projects that received tax credits so far under law have been in Republican states. A lot of the projects that are getting loan guarantees and loans, like the Rivian plant, are also in Republican states. The Rivian plant, this is an electric vehicle automaker, is getting a $6 billion loan guarantee to build a new plant in Georgia. And the reason for that is because these states are actually much more friendly to business. And the wind is, rural states tend to have more wind, but generally Republican states are much more friendly to business, right to work laws, etc., lower taxes. So they are actually attracting a larger share of this actually green investment, ironically. And so I think it is going to be a very difficult lift to actually end or scrap these tax credits. You may be able to par them back or put a cap on the amount. So right now it's like an open-ended buffet for whoever the businesses can claim as much as they want. And so maybe cap them at, I don't know, a random number, $20-30 billion a year. So you actually at least limit the cost, but actually eliminating them, I'm just not too optimistic about.
Bill, we'll give you the last word, but that's always the challenge with spending, with eliminating programs once they get into place. There are members of both parties who like going to ribbon cuttings and have projects in their districts that are important to their constituents, even if they oppose the broader subsidy green transition agenda. And remember that we have a very narrow majority, particularly in the House. So it wouldn't take all that many Republicans from a state like Texas or Kansas to want to keep some of those wind subsidies for Republican Speaker Mike Johnson to have some trouble maybe getting it over the finish line.
Yeah, subsidies always create constituencies, right? And the constituencies lobby and frequently override the interests of taxpayers. I agree with Alicia. We're never going to eliminate these. But I think it's good to start the conversation and at least make more people aware of the distorting effects and the costs to the taxpayer that they have. So I take that as a healthy beginning, because I don't know when we've had this conversation before, but Joe Biden has kind of forced it by the ambitions of his Green New Deal, and maybe we'll get a reaction to it that's thoughtful and recognizes the roles of the federal government in subsidizing it have played in making it inefficient and too costly to Americans.
Thank you, Bill and Alicia. Thank you all for listening. You can email us at pwpodcast@wsj.com. If you like the show, please hit that subscribe button, and we'll be back tomorrow with another edition of Potomac Watch.